What up, movie lovers? Welcome to Apocaflix Movies, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice review. I'm your host, Jacob Bartley, and I'm joined again by my regulars, Jake Berlin and Gio Ramos. What's going on, guys?
I'm doing good. I need another beer.
Yeah, good, chilling.
Yeah, this is a very controversial movie, as you guys may have know from checking out the reviews and seeing the fan reactions and all of that. But nevertheless, we are here to talk about it. Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, and forewarning, this is going to be your one and only warning. This is a spoilers heavy review. We're going to get into detail. We're going to talk about some crazy thing that's happened in this movie. Does anything crazy happen? We don't know. I don't know. Does it? Something big happens at the end. This is a spoilers review, so be cautious. Turn this off if you do not want to know anything about Batman v Superman, or if you have not seen the film, and come back and watch it later. All right, well, let's jump into it. We're going to talk about our positives, our negatives, jump into some detail about the universe, how we think it's moving forward and what's going to happen moving forward in this universe. And then we're going to talk about our WTF moment, something crazy in the movie that stood out to us. So let's start. I want to start with you, Gio. So did you like Batman v Superman? Just your general thoughts on the film.
Yes, I like Batman v Superman, to answer your question. As far as general thoughts, as far as comic book movies go, with ones that are more focused on setup rather than story, this one is the best of them all. Do you get what I mean by that?
I get what you're saying, because that's when these comic book movies try to do that. You know, Amazing Spider-Man 2, for example. Even Iron Man 2 is arguably the weakest of the Marvel Cinematic films that tried to do it too. So I would most likely agree. I would have to think about it, but yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, well, this film manages to succeed by the slightest margin thanks to its entertainment, nostalgia, wow factor, and fearlessness to adapt these characters into something new and for some never before seen, like Lex Luthor. The performances across the board are great. The visuals are spectacular. However, the important things like character development, pacing, even the film's identity suffers from so many plot points. I wrote that all out for you.
Jake Berlin, I just want to know your general thoughts on the film. Did you like it?
I was okay with it.
Okay.
I'll say I liked more of it than I didn't like
Okay.
it. But I was just okay with it. There are things that I really loved, and there's things that I didn't really love. You know, obviously we'll get into some stuff, but I saw it a second time, and I would probably go back a third time to see it, which, you know, does say something, but I was just okay with it.
So for me, after seeing it 2 times and thinking about it, I really liked it. I did, and I'm not going to deny the problems in the film. It has some major issues, and I'm not going to shy away from those. But overall, the fanboy inside me, you know, is stronger than the critic inside me. So for me, I really enjoyed this movie, and after watching it a second time, I noticed a lot of things that I did not notice the first time, which made the movie an overall better film to me. And we'll get into some of that, but with all that being said, even watching this movie a second time, I was like, yep, this doesn't work, that doesn't work. It's a very flawed film. But overall, like, I'm probably going to see it like 2 or 3 more times at least, because just I'm going to go see it with people who haven't seen it yet, just to take them to go see it, but also I want to see it again. So yeah, those are our overall thoughts about it. So let's jump into it. Let's start with, you know, the good side, the positives. Jake, let's go with you this time. So you say overall the positives slightly outweighed the negatives. So what were those positives?
Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne / Batman.
I think that's like universally accepted.
I think
by now.
you know, I've said it from the moment he was casted. He will be the best Bruce Wayne / Batman we've ever seen. I think he solidified that. You know, he made the character interesting. We were invested in him. We cared about him. You know, I understood why he hated Superman. I think that was clear. You know, obviously the movie starts out one way, but the big opening scene is Bruce Wayne. They introduce him right away. You know, he's a total badass, the biggest badass Batman we've ever seen. He looks great, best suit we've ever seen. I think that it was just a remarkable turn for the character, something we've kind of been looking forward to for a while. And it was straight out of Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns. Great adaptation of the character. Second one, which I was skeptical on, Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman.
Nice.
I enjoyed her. There's a few things here and there that, a couple wooden lines, maybe flowing as far as dialogue goes, but I thought she fit the role great. We've talked about it. She's kind of the modern take on Wonder Woman that we kind of want, and kind of an unknown too to the normal public, and which is good to fit the character. In the final fight scene, she's a total badass. I know you were going to talk about that a little bit, so I'll leave that to you. But she was great. She wasn't in it a ton, which I like, but also I don't like because I kind of did want more of her.
Yeah, it's weird.
And so it's kind of a mixture of both, but I thought, the moment she was in it, she was good. That scene with Bruce Wayne was great. The whole dialogue between those two was great.
The one that's in the trailer.
Yeah, so that was good. We had talked about this last night after seeing it, and I had said that, I don't know how I feel about the fight between the two characters. After thinking about it, I do like it. There's some great stuff in there. I think my turn was that there wasn't enough of it. And I think we talked about that, maybe a second fight somewhere in there, or maybe in the first fight beforehand. But as far as the fight between Batman and Superman,
well, just the fight on its own,
yes,
is great. But in the context of the rest of the movie,
I think that if you go from the moment that he shows up to where Batman is to the moment that it ends, the fight it's satisfying. Like I was satisfied with it. There's some great stuff in there. There's punches blown on both sides. The way Batman kind of brings him down each level towards the kryptonite spear is really cool. The dialogue between the two, the way it finishes is strong. So that's good. Another one I think you have to go with is the final battle. Even though it's really bloated and like kind of a little bit too over the top, there's still some great stuff in there. And I think we'll talk about, the team up between the three, how they kind of bring it together at the very end, kind of to hint at something. But there's some cool action in there. The Wonder Woman stuff's great. She was kind of the focus of the battle because she never left the battle. Doomsday taking on Superman, and obviously we'll talk about the ending at some point. But those are kind of my main points. There's a few other ones. Jeremy Irons as Alfred, and a couple other things. But those are the main ones that really hit me. So,
all right, Gio, you liked the film, most of it. So let's hear about your positives.
Well, a lot of it is going off of what Jake says. I mean, Ben Affleck as Batman is great. The pain that he feels, you get a sense that he still suffers from the loss of his parents, and also from some other things that are hinted in the film, like the death of his former comrade Robin, and some other things that have happened. He says good people, have turned bad, and that kind of gave him trust issues probably. So, I mean, it was great. I feel like this was more of a Batman film than it was a Superman film, just more about his character. I mean, granted, Superman had one entire film to himself in the first one, so that was great. Wonder Woman is great. I don't mind that they gave her limited dialogue and screen time. The last thing this movie needs is more of something else and less focus between Batman and Superman. With so much in there, all the setup going on, I felt like it was the right amount of Wonder Woman. Now everyone's excited. We're all excited to see Wonder Woman now. The dialogue, the questions that the movie asks, should there be a Superman? The world's been so caught up with what he can do that we don't stop and ask what should he do. I felt like they were very honest questions, the kind of questions that our real world would ask as far as Superman, and all the good he's doing and all the bad that he's doing, unintentionally. The moments between Superman and his parents, it took me back to Man of Steel, that brief moment he had with his mom on the farm, the moment he had with his father while he was hiking on a mountain, just looking at them for guidance and for, direction, what should he do? I mean, you can never you can never go wrong with his adoptive parents. The courtroom explosion scene, the whole execution of it, the callback to Granny's peach
I
tea.
did not see that coming the first time, and I like that. It was totally surprised because I've gotten good at predicting things in films, and I did not see it coming at all.
It showed the madness of Lex Luthor, and that he.
Well, at that point, I realized, okay, he's completely not only insane, but also he doesn't care about anyone except himself because he kills his assistant, who it seemed like that was the only person that he really was closest to him that he cared about. Nope, she doesn't matter.
So I mean, if they got one thing right about Lex Luthor, it was that. And Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, I mean, I didn't mind him. He's certainly different. He's way different than what we're all used to. With the older, more business like man.
Yeah, and we've seen that so many times. So that's why I was cool with him.
His character, it has like a brief origin story to him. He talks about his father being somewhat abusive.
Yeah, they did that well. They barely touched on his origin.
And if you think about billionaires today and people in power, Donald Trump, he's kind of a character himself, and so you look at this Lex Luthor, he's a character himself. And I like how he pulled the strings in the background, kind of getting the two. It could have been done a little bit better, but I appreciated that they still went for it. What else? The Justice League member tie-in. The fact that Lex Luthor had his eye on all these characters just says a lot. It's kind of like the tie-in for how Oscorp in Marvel Spider-Man.
Yeah, in a
shoots out
way.
all the villains.
Yeah,
you have Lex Luthor. With all these files, it kind of just presents an easier way, a faster way for them to find.
It makes sense because otherwise, how are they gonna find them?
Yeah. The character music themes, we talked about it.
Yeah, it's something I didn't mention.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot to mention that.
Yeah,
The
they're
Wonder
great.
Woman theme.
They're great.
The
Yeah.
Not the Eisenberg.
Lex Luthor.
The Lex Luthor theme.
Even the Batman theme. I like it. It's very brute. It's
The
very,
whole score is great to me.
Yeah.
For me.
It's
Well, I know
very
you're going
heavy.
to talk about the opening score is it's very strong.
I love it.
It gets you into the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to talk about the opening sequence with that opening sequence too, with the death of his parents, while the opening credits are playing.
Even though we've seen it so many times, this is the only time we're going to see it in this universe. Hopefully they don't show it in the Batman solo films.
They don't need to,
They
I
don't
don't
need to.
think.
That's
Well,
so
they can do
maybe
flashbacks.
you don't want to see it again at all, but the fact that they took care of it now is a good thing. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, very, very well done, Snyder. I'll give you credit for, we don't need to see the origin, put it in the opening credits. There you go. And then after that, as it showed Bruce Wayne's, point of view of the Battle of Metropolis,
Yep.
it kind of fills in the holes of where was Bruce Wayne while this is happening. We get to see that play out. We get to see Bruce Wayne be a little bit of the hero, he's being Batman without
And it gives
the
him a
cape and cowl.
legitimate reason to have a problem with Superman, too. It's not just an ideology, it's a personal thing, too.
And the last thing I'll mention is the death of Superman adaptation. How they
What? Superman dies?
Superman dies,
Just kidding.
man, in the movie. But I like how
They left at the right time. Anyways.
I like how they went for it. They played it out. They didn't. Oh no, he's alive. I mean, they kind of did so at the end. I mean, obviously we know he's
Very
gonna come back.
subtly.
But I mean, it gives us, it lets us know how the world feels without Superman after there being a Superman. They appreciate him more. They see more of his heroics. I thought the scene was well done, well shot, and props to them for going for it.
Well, kind of going off of that, I'll echo that, the whole scene, how it played out. But it, this whole time, it's like, who is Superman? Does he belong here? Should he be allowed to, use his powers for this ability and this ability, or to save people or whatever? And that scene alone, even though people don't know how it went down, he died saving the world. It's like, now it washes everything clean. It sets up everything
and
going
when he
forward.
comes back, they're gonna appreciate him more.
Yeah, and
You know?
well, that's actually an interesting question because we actually don't know how that will go down. Like, oh, did he just die to get a funeral, or who knows how they're gonna go
Oh,
about
did
it?
he fake his death
Yeah,
so we would
like,
love
yeah,
him?
like how are they gonna go about it? But it
Because
does.
the world's stupid.
As
so.
far as we know, it's gonna wash everything clean because he died saving millions of people, and it kind of like, yeah, people died during the whole Metropolis battle, but he was trying to do the same thing. It just he was a rookie doing it. So
Yeah, and he's still not that experienced, even at this point, because
he's only 2 years into it.
Even in the
Yeah.
Batman fight, once they reach equal level playing field, Batman whoops his ass
Yeah,
because
it's one-sided. It's full one-sided.
because Batman's been a trained fighter for all his life. Superman has not. All he has is super strength.
Yeah, he knows
you
how
know?
to farm.
Yeah, pretty much. So, yeah, I'll pick it up. I'll talk about some of my positives. Obviously, you guys talked about Ben Affleck as Batman. Phenomenal. I'm not ready to call him the best Ben Affleck or the best Bruce Wayne / Batman because, come on, don't forget what Christian Bale did for us. But he's up. I mean, he arguably if he kills it in Justice League, boom, he's the best because I really enjoyed Ben Affleck. The continuation of Superman from Man of Steel, because I loved Man of Steel. I thought they, as much as they could, they touched on Superman very well, like where this character has been since the last time we saw him, working at the Daily Planet, living with Lois Lane, just all of that stuff was pretty good. And I'm not going to go on and on about the stuff that you guys already talked about, so I'm going to talk about some of the positives that I had that you guys did not mention. I really liked Lex Luthor, actually. And this is a controversial topic because most people did not. A lot of people are saying he didn't have proper motivation. Like the way he was portrayed was very goofy and all that. But for me, I thought he did have proper motivation. And it's kind of a cop-out because I'm going to say we should already know that because he craves power, right? But they don't say that in the movie. But us fans who know Lex Luthor know that. He craves power and he wants power. And the thing is, he's jealous of Superman because Superman is the most powerful being on the planet. And I think that's where it stems from he envies him. He's like, I can't ever, no matter how much money I have, I will never be that powerful. And for me, that's his motivation. But they don't say that in the movie, so it's kind of a cop-out in a way. Mm-hmm. So I do think, and I love all the scores. I really like Lex Luthor's score when he shows up. It's just creepy and, it fits the character in this movie. Maybe it doesn't fit the Lex Luthor that we all have come to know in the past, but it fits this Lex Luthor. And for me, you cannot deny that Jesse Eisenberg gave it his all in that role. Like, he put in the effort, but also I will not deny that the character was not perfect. The character he did have some flaws for sure, and he was a little too over the top in certain points of the film, and I will not deny that. But overall, I really enjoyed the character because I told this to you, Jake, before Gio arrived earlier today. With all the problems in the movie, with the issues that we're going to talk about pretty soon, in the midst of all that, I found myself saying to myself in my head, wait, when is Lex Luthor going to come on screen? Because every time he comes on screen, I was very entertained. And to me, that tells myself that I really like the character. Wonder Woman, the character of Wonder Woman was freaking amazing. Gal Gadot's performance was good enough for me. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad enough to where it took me out of the film or it even ruined the movie at all. It was good enough to where the actress, was in there and she portrayed the character, which was a great character. So she did a great job as far as just, filling in as Wonder Woman. And I think I was telling you guys yesterday that they shot this movie, maybe, year and a half ago. So I think since then she's been getting acting lessons and working with the acting coach. And by the time now that she's filming Wonder Woman, I think she's gotten better. And we've seen glimpses of it in that scene with Bruce Wayne. She was really good. So and I'm gonna look. I really like the Batman v Superman fight. I really like aspects of the Doomsday fight, and arguably one of the greatest moments in the film to me. And it's because I've been looking forward to this Wonder Woman character so much. And the Wonder Woman I want is for, maybe a lot of people might not know this, but there's an ongoing DC animated universe going on in the movies, and the Wonder Woman that they've put in those movies is the Wonder Woman that I want to see in the live action films. And I feel like Gal Gadot fits that Wonder Woman perfectly. And the part of that Wonder Woman is that she's a warrior. She loves battle. She loves war. She loves a challenge. And in that Doomsday fight, Doomsday knocks her and she slides against the floor, and Gal Gadot smiles, or Wonder Woman smiles like, ooh, I want some more of that. Like, let's go. And I think that's so great. And Jake, you talked about this earlier, that Gal Gadot actually added that in the movie.
She improvised that.
She improvised it and thought of it herself. And that's weird because we talk about how she's not a great actress, but that she thought of that herself and put it in the movie. I would have thought that Zack Snyder or Ben Affleck or some of the writers thought of that, but nope. Gal Gadot thought of it on her own. So props to her. I mean, it makes me more excited for Wonder Woman, and that she's like invested in this character and wants the character to be great. So yeah, and just there's a whole bunch of little character moments and stuff in the film that I really enjoyed, but for the most part, those are most of our positives. So I could talk more and more about my positives, but we don't want to go on forever, so let's jump into it. I know this is gonna go on for maybe a while, but so I'm gonna start with you, Jake, because I feel like you're gonna have the most negatives out of each of us, just from hearing us talk about the film.
Interesting.
What are those negatives, man? We're curious. The listeners are curious.
What are the negative?
Okay, so just straight up, the movie's a sloppy mess, man.
I totally agree.
It's a complete mess. We talked about the editing. The editing is horrific
For the most part.
I think it's just like towards the end it gets a lot better. Maybe the last 45 minutes or so, but for the most part it's so bad. And because you go from this scene, you get so invested in this scene, and all of a sudden it cuts to a random scene. You're like, wait a second, this has nothing to do with the previous scene. So that's definitely one thing. It just it was a total mess, and the first hour or so was a very, very disappointing hour to me, and a lot of it has to do with the editing, because it takes me out of what I'm watching, because it goes to random spots. And that kind of goes hand in hand with another one, is it felt like two movies in a way. I was sitting back and really thinking about it. The first hour or whatever it is, it feels like a political movie where it's all focused on who is Superman and why is he here, and then it jumps to, let's throw every action sequence in the world in there and go to battle with these superheroes. It's like they threw everything they could in there in the last half hour, or the second half of the movie, and it kind of jumps to this super heroic superhero movie that it wasn't in the first half of the movie. So that was definitely kind of not a huge negative, but something that I think could have been done better. And for another negative is, I didn't hate her that much, but Lois Lane, she was in there way too much, especially in the last half of the movie, because she was in there for a reason that she should never have been in there. Like specifically the final fight, she was on that island with Doomsday and Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. Jacob, you even said when you first saw the movie that when she picked up the spear, you thought she was going to go stab Doomsday.
Yeah, I was like, that would have ruined the whole, that would have changed everything.
Yeah, it's just, she was very relevant in the first, hour of the movie. Like you said, you wanted her there to humanize Superman.
That's it.
She became irrelevant later in the movie, and she was in places she should have never been in. She was arguably, the second or third lead in the movie, which should not have been the case. And so that was kind of a little bit of a annoying factor. A couple other things, kind of going off what you said with Justice League, Gio, I think all the Justice League titles were forced, specifically the email with Wonder Woman. I thought that was so forced in there. You know, it was just like a kind of a cheap way to throw it in there, let the fans know that all these, like, get the cameos in there, and they're so concerned with Justice League, and you know, they kind of wanted to get all the characters in there and let people know this all happening. And
Well, I was just gonna say, as far as that positive goes, it was more about the idea that Lex Luthor has been, you know, like keeping track, and finding these people.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole email thing, I agree, but like just the idea of Lex Luthor.
yeah, that's
you know,
yeah.
So
But yeah, I mean, as far as like that email, I didn't think it needed to be
Well,
there.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but it's the metahuman thesis. They reference
Yeah,
it
but
in
it's
earlier
like-
of the film.
But just
No, I mean, I kind of agree with you, and I kind of agree with you too. Like, I don't know how I felt about it. Like it
in a
was
way,
cool to see, but
like
in the
that's-
context of the film, I
that
don't know.
scene, like it was earlier in the movie. Like it paid off in the end. They talked about it early in the metahuman thesis. We saw, you know, a glimpse of the Flash earlier in the movie and whatnot. But in a way, it was so concerned with setting up a universe, it forgot to be a great standalone movie.
True.
And it's been promised to be Batman v Superman, and it literally became Dawn of Justice. And it, you know, if you watch that second trailer, you know the movie by watching that second trailer. Like that's the entire movie. They gave it away. If you really go back and watch that trailer, like besides a few things, that trailer plays out the entire movie. And you know, one thing that I know that you guys may not agree with me on this, but I do not like that Batman kills. I hate it. I really started thinking about it because his moral code is not to kill. And he's always been on this. Always been on the edge of being a criminal. The way he operates.
But we don't know this Batman.
Yeah, but
This is the first time we've seen this
I know,
Batman.
but his moral, he's always been on that line of being a criminal and killing, and they've never crossed that line. Well, now he's just another criminal. He's a criminal operating as a superhero, and he kills like.
And he calls himself a criminal in the
Yeah,
movie.
but that's just it does not fit for me, and it I don't know, it doesn't make sense. And you know, I agree that, you know, this is a different Batman, whatever, but they don't explain why he kills. There's no development there, and
I agree with that.
And that may have to factor in why I didn't like it as much, but I just don't like that he kills. They already made Superman kill. Don't make another superhero kill, especially one that has like always been a non-killer in the history of his run.
Well, I think that's different.
I know,
Superman
I know he had to kill, but
Batman doesn't have to kill.
But this dude is out there straight murdering
Yeah,
people
he doesn't.
with big
I
guns
like that.
and like
It's like
yeah,
he's just a
it's
straight
great action and
badass.
stuff, but
Yeah.
his moral code is not to kill. That's always been Batman.
Yeah,
and that
every
kind of-
other Batman we've seen.
it bugs me. It bugs me. So
No, I get it though, especially if you're a huge Batman fan. It totally makes sense. Gio, so what are some of your negatives?
were you done?
yeah, that's it.
I'm gonna try and go for something here, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong or
I
way,
mean, your
way out of
opinion
line.
is never wrong.
I feel like this film is kind of similar to Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Not quality, because Star Wars is clearly a better film, but the fact that you're introduced to these characters who have a previous backstory that may or may not be filled in as the movies go on. You guys get what I'm saying there?
Which characters on both sides? What do you mean?
Well, yeah, like Wonder Woman, like Batman, like Lex Luthor. I mean, you have a little bit of his backstory, but
What about the Star Wars
not
characters?
enough. Well, you know, like Finn, like Rey, like, you know, like we don't know a lot about them. We know that they do things, but we don't know how or really
Yeah.
why they do things.
I mean,
you
in
know?
Star Wars, it's different because in Star Wars, it's like a mystery. Like I want to know more, but in Batman v Superman, I don't know. They're like
And
those characters have been around for so long.
and you know, I'm not trying to be biased, but I felt like those characters were developed a hell of a lot better than these characters.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying, like, can you see the similarities, like, between?
Maybe.
I mean, what I'm trying.
I have
to
to
go
think
for.
about it more because that's just like totally out of nowhere. for
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
Like
I'm just-
I have to think about
I'm
it
just-
more.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I'll agree with you as far as the editing and cuts go. For me, it was the nightmare sequences. Like, I started thinking, like, as a general audience member, like, man, like, it just goes straight into a nightmare sequence
it's just-
or a dream sequence.
And they don't know that it's a dream. I feel like the general audience doesn't
Yeah,
know
until
And they
afterwards,
think
you
it's
know?
like what's really happening in the film.
You have to set it up better, you know, instead of just, like, cutting to that, you know.
Well, and they never explain it. They never explain why he's having these dreams.
Or like
Yeah,
when, or like
these visions.
Yeah, oh yeah, vision, whatever you want to call them,
Right.
because there's no development there. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's yeah.
I mean, it was a cool scene, but it's like,
Not enough Batman v Superman, and I'll give credit to you for calling it. I mean, that was like your biggest worry going into the movie. Meanwhile, me and maybe Jacob was like, no, it's a 2.5 hour movie. They're gonna touch. They didn't touch on it.
well, it's funny because we watched the trailers and we're like, oh, they're gonna have 2 fights. Batman's gonna get his ass whooped in the normal suit, and then he's gonna have the mech suit. Where you watch the film and it's like, oh, that actually wasn't a fight.
Right.
He was actually chasing bad guys, and then Superman showed up.
Right.
It's like,
yeah, it goes beyond the fight. They didn't flesh out their differences or conflicts enough. Like we know why they're mad at each other. Superman's like, you bat brand people and all that. Like, what's up with that? And Batman's like, you son of a bitch about the water west and this and that. Like, we know why they're doing it, but they didn't flesh it out enough. And next thing you know, they're fighting. But that goes again. Like, you have the Lex Luthor thing going on. You have the Senator Finch thing going on. You have the Lois Lane investigating the Bullet thing going on. It's a lot of stuff, and it took away from the Batman v Superman. As far as the cameos go, the cameos themselves, I felt like they were a little bit lazy. I mean,
they were shoehorned in there.
Moving my mouse around on the laptop, I'm kind of reminded of it. It's just. I mean, I don't know. You have Aquaman. I was a little bit underwhelmed. Seeing it a second time, like, it was kind of cool seeing him swim at 400 miles an hour.
Yeah, Sonic Boom.
That was pretty cool, but him just doing that and looking at the screen for 10 seconds into my soul, and I'm just like, damn. And then God, what else? The Flash one.
The Flash one at the grocery store. And
that was pretty cool. I mean,
a little excessive with the lightning bolts.
People are gonna compare it to the CW.
Well, here
Flash
I don't
all
even
the
know
time,
if people
but,
are gonna realize. Like, they may look at the logo, but normal audience members are they really gonna think, is that the Flash? Like, are they gonna know?
How many normal audience members really even watch?
Exactly. Like, are they even gonna know what that is?
So this could be an entirely new Flash for them.
And Cyborg, definitely, they have no idea who that guy is.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. And again, Lois Lane at the end of the battle. I mean, why are you there? I mean, I do like that she kind of stopped Batman from killing Superman as Martha, because Batman just wasn't really letting Superman speak. And to have another human there was kind of like, okay, why is this human protecting Superman? Oh, wait, Superman might be a little bit different than what I thought. And then in the end, it's just, I felt like it was a bit too long and too much going on. They tried
it was 15, 20 minutes too long.
Way too much in there.
There was 4 endings.
Yeah.
Where it could have ended right there, cut to the next scene,
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple moments where I kept stretching. I was like, okay, here we go. I'm good. But it was just too much going on, too much setup going on, and I'll say that for my closing statements or whatever.
So for me, it's some of the same things you guys said, but I have to start with, it's just, I think the perfect word to describe the problem with the movie, it's sloppy. It's very, very sloppy. It's all over the place. There's too much going on. It's just the editing. The editing is really bad at certain points in the film. I actually like the first 15, 20 minutes of the movie. But after that, the editing is horrible because they're trying to focus on... So I'm going to start with Lois Lane, man. Look, I love Lois Lane in Man of Steel. And I love Amy Adams. She's a great actress, and she's cool as Lois Lane. But
hot.
She should have been very limited in this movie. Her only role in this movie should have been to humanize Superman Clark Kent. She should have been there. They should have shown them that they're in a relationship now and they live together and they're both working at the Daily Planet. I almost said Daily Bugle, the Daily Planet, and that's it. We don't need her investigating and being a central part of the plot and then being there at the end battle. Batman could barely survive in that end battle. Lois Lane should not be there. And
blown away.
I freaking absolutely hated those scenes where Lex Luthor pushes her off and then Superman just floats right under her. And how many times is he gonna save her? Like, no matter where she is in the world, he's gonna go save her. Where was he in that desert scene before he shows up? Like, was he just waiting around there when he shows up to save her? And then and how does he, like, why doesn't he show up right away when Lex Luthor takes her? How does he only show up when she pushes her down? And then, I get it, you love this girl, and sure, maybe your love for her is stronger than for saving lives, but you're in the middle of a battle with Doomsday, and Doomsday could have killed Wonder Woman or Batman while you are concerned with saving Lois Lane. I get it. He loves her, and sure, he cares about her more than he cares about Batman or Wonder Woman, but it was just too much. Like, give me one scene where he saves her, not freaking 15. Like, it was super excessive, and I hated it. It was, and going on that, some of their dialogue together was just bad, and I don't know. While I loved their relationship in Man of Steel, I did not like it in this movie, even though I wanted her there to humanize Superman because he's not just this alien. And now that I think about it, take her out of the movie completely because his mother humanizes him. She's the person that could bring him down to earth and humanize him. So that is arguably my main concern with the film other than the editing. But yeah, it's just really all over the place, and there's a bunch of other issues with it, but I don't want to go on too long. So let's move on to just maybe one huge moment. I call it the WTF moment. Something that it could be a positive, it could be a negative, just something that caught you off guard or made you say, "Whoa, that was awesome." It could be anything. So Gio, what one moment either stood out to you as like one thing that just like blew your mind, either in a positive or negative way?
There's so much going on in this movie. Damn, you really put me on the spot.
Oh, you didn't think about it yet?
I haven't really thought about it.
All right, well,
yet.
I'll go first.
Okay.
Them killing Superman. That's my WTF moment. And it's weird because it's not a negative or a positive for me. I can't believe they did it.
They had the balls to do it.
And sure, kudos to them for doing it, but it's different the second time because I knew it was coming. So the first time, as soon as it happened, I was like, I don't know what happened to me. I was just like I couldn't obviously talk, but I was just like losing my mind in my head. I was like, are they really doing this? Because to me, as soon as it happens, we know he's coming back, right? Like, no matter what, we know he's coming back. So to me, I'm like, is this really necessary? Because he's Superman. Him and Batman are the two leaders of the Justice League, the central parts of this universe going forward. And it's only the second. It's not like doing Avengers Infinity War and killing Iron Man at the end of it. That is necessary for what it could mean. But killing Superman in the second film, like, I feel like even casual movie fans were like, really? Like, we know he's not dead. And then they show the dirt at the end of the movie with the coffin move up. So for me, I was just like boggled by that whole situation. I still don't know if I look at it as a positive or a negative. So that's my WTF moment. Gio, have you thought of one?
Yeah, for me, it's without a doubt the explosion in the courtroom scene.
That's a good one.
You see her
That's a really good
turning
one.
the jar. And I didn't catch it the first time, but the second time I'm like, oh, wow. Like, okay, there it is. And then Superman, she gives that look, and then Superman looks at her, and he's like, oh, fuck. Like, damn, really? And then the explosion happens, and then...
Well, he looks at the wheelchair right before he makes that face.
Yeah. And then, so that was my WTF moment, just the balls that Lex Luthor had to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good one because I don't think any of us really saw it coming until she looked towards the wheelchair.
Well, she was, as soon as she realized it, she was terrified.
Yeah.
She was terrified.
And there are a couple that you could really think of, and, some that are negative and some that are positive, but I'm kind of with you, Jacob. I mean, it's not a bad thing, but it's just like, I mean, it is the WTF moment because you're like, really? Like you said, like, we know he's coming back. It's the second movie into the whole universe. Yeah. And I mean, kudos to them. They had the balls to do it and they pulled it off. But
unless it's the reason why the world accepts him after that, but I don't know. But like you said, not everyone's going to be like torn on it again.
Yeah. So. And it's just like, it's an interesting thing going forward, obviously, and it was a great adaptation of the whole Death of Superman novel and comic, but it was just we didn't see it coming, but it's like, what did it really need to be in there? Because we're gonna see him in the next movie, Justice League next year. We'll see him come back, and so that's definitely my WTF moment. I mean, there's a couple other ones that you can choose from. The courtroom one's a really good one, but yeah, the Death of Superman for sure.
You know what interests me? Well, let's talk really quick. What does this movie mean going forward in this universe? And I'll start it off. When does Suicide Squad take place? Does it take place after Batman v Superman? Do they mention that Superman's dead in this movie, in Suicide Squad?
They confirmed it. When was it?
Did they?
I'm pretty sure it takes place after Batman v Superman.
Okay. I'm wondering if,
Let me look. I'll look.
like, Amanda Waller or one of the government officials said something about Superman being dead, if they mention it. Because that'll be interesting.
Yeah, look it up. I know it was either Snyder or David Ayer that said this movie takes place before or after. But
So we know, we feel like they kind of shoehorned in all the setup, but regardless of that, how do you feel about this universe going forward after this movie?
I feel like
Like,
it's-
not this movie, but the
yeah,
future.
Yeah, I feel like it's still set up well. I mean, as unorganized as this movie is, there's still a lot of good things about it, and
Yeah.
a lot of it has to do with the characters and the performances themselves. Like, people love Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. They love Ben Affleck as Batman. They're interested in Aquaman, Jason Momoa. They're curious about the cyborg character and what that's all about. I mean, so I feel like it's set up just enough. Like, okay,
Yeah.
we have it all here. It wasn't perfect, but let's get going. Let's keep going forward, because the important film is Justice League. Because that's what's really gonna. You thought there was a lot of characters in this movie. Like, you wait till Justice League comes, and the villains, they're only gonna get bigger and badder. Like, people say, oh no, Doomsday. God, what do they do that? Like, Doomsday is not really a character you can develop a lot. He's meant for one purpose: to kill. He doesn't talk. There's no backstory. There's nothing this or that. He's just a guy who kills. He's a less interesting Hulk, but more evil. So, yeah, I feel like the universe is set up well. So.
Yeah, it's weird because, I'm iffy about the Justice League cameos and all that, but I'm still super excited for Justice League no matter what, And here's the thing. This movie is universally just okay.
Right.
So it didn't ruin the DC universe going forward.
Yeah.
But if they F up Justice League, they're done. If they F up Justice League, they're done. And it's weird. Like, I'm curious, like, I don't know. Let's say Suicide Squad crushes. Let's say Wonder Woman is generally well received, and then they totally not financial bomb, but just like critically and how good the movie is. Justice League just is like worse received than Batman v Superman. Like, is their universe done?
I don't say their universe is done. I say Zack Snyder is indefinitely done. I think the Batman movie has moved forward, and
We'll see.
buy some
Jake,
time.
just really quick, how are you looking forward to this universe going forward after seeing this film?
All my feelings, aside for Batman v Superman, I still think they did a good job of setting it up. I
Okay.
think that, like, the universe, I think it's fine. Not good or great going forward. I think it's fine going forward, because now we know that Aquaman's there and Flash is there, and now Batman and Wonder Woman are going to bring together these superheroes together to fight Darkseid, because Batman is somehow visioning Darkseid coming to Earth, and but it's set up. They're going to bring them together, and we'll see them together in Justice League. And but I think it's Zack Snyder's time to step away from the movies.
I agree.
I don't want to. It's going to happen, but I don't want to see him direct Justice League.
Ben Affleck, baby.
That would be a great choice, and I know you guys are talking about the ratings and everything, and I don't think they would be done either if they got another BVS score, but it would hurt them.
Yeah.
It would hurt them, because if it becomes another controversial movie with issues just like Batman v Superman, they could be in some trouble. And who knows? He may crush it, and I hope he does, because we've all wanted to see Justice League for a very, very long time. But And the world is set up now for him to do so. But it is, we'll see how it goes. I'd rather see someone else do than Zack Snyder.
All right, well, I think we're going to wrap this up with our final scores and final thoughts. So, Gio, after this discussion, just, maybe one sentence on your overall thoughts of the film and then your final score out of 10.
Lots of setup, mediocre story, great performances. I'm gonna go 7.5 out of 10.
Okay, Jake Berlin, just, one sentence describing your overall, summing up your thoughts of the film and then your overall score out of 10.
I think it ended up being a little bit more style over substance, which is unfortunate, but hey, it is what it is, and I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10.
Okay. For me, I said it earlier in the podcast, my fanboyism comes before my criticism. So for me, I actually really liked the film, and the things that I really enjoyed, make me forget about the things that I didn't like. But don't get me wrong, all the things I didn't like were still there. But even with all of that being said, I'm gonna actually agree with Gio. I'm gonna give it a 7.5 out of 10. And it's that's not even a bad score, but it's not a great score. It's just the movie was good to me. That's all I can say.
Well, we had talked about it in our preview, but I think you wanted it to be a 9 or 9.5, and you gave it a 10, Gio.
Well, like our anticipation for what we thought it was going to be walking out of, you said 10, you said 8.5.
I said 8. I think I said 8.
I think you said 8.5. Okay. But we can go back and listen to it. But and I said 9, right?
Yeah. So comparing to those scores, I mean that's pretty unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean there's no denying it's a disappointment. That's the perfect word for it. It's not a bad movie. It's just a disappointment. Mm-hmm. So, all right, well, that's going to wrap up our Batman v Superman spoilers review. I actually want to give a shout-out to some of our listeners, Patrick Mullins, and I don't know your real name, but your YouTube name is Nohoon100. You guys have been, great listeners, and thank you guys for commenting and liking our videos, and you both have been waiting for our Batman v Superman review. Thank you for being patient, and we really appreciate your guys' support. And also, I want to thank Gio Ramos for joining us today. Let them know where they can find you online.
On Twitter at GioRamos24 and Apocaflixmovies.com. Be sure to check out Rumor Central.
And Jake Berlin, let them know where they can find you online.
Twitter, Instagram at Qui-Gon Jake with 2 N's, and check out the Padawan podcast.
2 N's? And you can find me, Jacob Barley, on Twitter at @JacobBarley_ on this Apocaflix Movies YouTube channel. Hit that like button. Please subscribe. We really, really appreciate it. Until next time, you all take care.